Welcome to the Encourager Podcast. I'm Rebekah Scott. I own Rebekah Scott Designs, where I am the designer and the CEO. I believe that if you desire an active, impactful role in your children's lives while simultaneously wanting to provide an income for your family, then being a mompreneur is exactly what you need to work at home. The Encourager Podcast is my way of inspiring and motivating you with insightful knowledge, tips, and advice from myself and other successful working women who put their families first. So let's take action and encourage one another. So I wrote a book. Say what? Yes, I did. It's called Equipped to Execute, guiding moms to joyfully impact their families and business. You know when you listen to a podcast and you think, goodness, I wish I could write that down, or I wish I could refer back to that in written form? Well, that's why I wrote it. I needed to answer the question, how do you do it for you and for myself? So this labor, and I do mean labor of love, will be available for pre-orders for our book launch team. Visit theencouragerbook.com for details on the incentives, which include signed books, speaking gigs, a full day to brainstorm your business with me, and awesome Rebekah Scott Designs product to go with. The book includes chapters about how to ward off fear, how to set goals, how to make key decisions, and how to execute your dreams while raising your family, and loads of stories of my own journey with business and a growing family. So hop on, pledge what your heart screams for you to do, and pre-order yours today. We got this, Encouragers. Hello, this week's episode of The Encourager is talking about my work system. You're familiar that I run 4 systems in my life to keep doing what I'm doing. And so I have a food system, a me system, a work system, and a family system. Well, I want to tell you a little bit about my work system. And I go into quite a bit of depth throughout the podcast. You'll pick up on the little things that I do, but I have about 4 major methods that I do to keep my work system working. So one of the most important things that you need to find out when you decide to work from home or you're doing a side gig is where you are going to work. And that may seem like, well, I'm going to work at my computer. Isn't that a no-brainer? Yes, but I am saying you need to have a spot. Because you know who you are when you're working from your kitchen table to your bedroom floor, to the spare bedroom, to the toy room floor, that you keep moving your work spot and nobody's really taking you seriously, including yourself. Find a space, and that is your space for your work. It's not saying that other people can't be in that space, because I have a big opening in my studio to let my kids run in and out. But it is a space for my job, and it helps your brain to remind yourself this is for work. So make sure that you have a place for your work system. And I thought I would brief you a little bit on what my hours look like. I am a full-time job. I love it when I have a booth full of 150 purses and 150 accessories, and they ask if I do it full time. And I know that they don't mean it mean-spirited, but I think, good gravy, when do you think I would do this on the side? So anyways, my hours, I work in the morning from 8:30 to 11:30, and those are hours that aren't super high focus hours. I can sew during those hours, and when you're sewing, you can stop in the middle of a seam and meet a children's need, or stop to dance to Jesus Loves Me, or whatever it might be. Those hours are a little bit less focused hours as far as like returning email and that sort of thing. I don't do during those hours. I do my work hours, or my actual crafting, making hours. Okay. Then I take that 2-hour lunch break that I talk frequently about. And then I start again at 1:30 for my admin time and that sort of thing. And I work till 6 o'clock when I have the nanny. So if you take that times 5, that's a 7.5-hour day times 5. That's a 37.5-hour week. Not too bad, right? But it is a full-time job, and some weeks are heavier. You know, I talk about the Wednesday night where I get to work late, or might have to squeeze in a couple of hours before church on Sunday if it's a really high retail season such as Christmas. But normally that's about a normal week for me. So you need to decide how many hours are going to be for your job. So first we talked about where you're going to work, and now we're going to talk about how you're going to work. How many hours do you need to accomplish your goals? Now, hopefully you've already written your goals. What are you going to do? How many are you going to make? How many do you need to sell? How many appointments are you going to have? All of those goals. Well, now you need to decide how many hours that would actually take. Is that a 40-hour work week? Is that a 30-hour? Is that a 15-hour or 20-hour? What's conducive to your family stage of life right now? If you have toddlers or if you have babies or if you have elementary age kids, what is appropriate amount of hours for the family style that you want to have as well? So then once you've decided, like, I'm going to have a 40-hour work week, such as myself, well, that means I need to have 8-hour days. Well, where am I going to get those 8 hours? Is it going to be 8 to 5, or do I prefer 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then 11 to 4 p.m.? Like, you don't have to choose 8 to 5, obviously, but you do need to choose and write it down. Don't just tell yourself, I need to get in 8 hours today, because you know that your family is going to interrupt you and run you into the ground with phone calls from friends and lunch dates and all that stuff. You can't just say, well, I know I need to work an 8-hour work week. You need to decide the time that you're going to work, so that if a child says, will you come outside and play catch with me? You can say, yes, at 5 o'clock, if they know how to read the clock, I will take a break and go play catch with you, buddy. Or the friend calls, hey, can we have lunch today? And you say, ooh, no, not today, because I had to sneak in an hour that I lost yesterday for an emergency trip to the acute care center. So not today, but I can make Friday work. You need to decide when those hours will be each day, depending on how many hours you've chosen for a week. 20-hour work week. Do you want to do that in 2 days? Just hammer out 2 10-hour days where you get daycare or you get a nanny? Or do you want to do 5 4-hour days? That's a great start and very flexible if you have babies in toddler stage. That one, pretty doable. But decide how many hours you're going to work. Then also with the how are you going to do things? So are you going to check email first and then do the crafting or the making or the writing for whatever your job may be? What I suggest is that you set hours that you will check email, and you tell those helping you and yourself and your husband what those are going to be. Because if you launch right into email at 8 a.m., oh gosh, it's not always the best method. What I would do is do your punch list first, meaning the things that have to be done in order to move the ball forward. So you need to record that recipe, send a little video about it for your blog, or write your first chapter of your book, or make the 20 items for the show on Friday. Do the larger things first, then responding to email, because once you get into the hole of email, you're parked there for a while. So I recommend doing those big things first. And then the fourth method for your work system, and I preach about this all the time and I swear by it, is timing your task, because then it will make it easier for you to know if you do need a 40-hour work week or in fact a 20-hour work week. If it is taking you 4 hours a day to check your email, then you probably need a 40-hour work week, and you probably need an office manager. They are affordable. You do not have to think it's got to be somebody that you pay a $20,000 salary. Not in the beginning, but you might have a friend who's super organized, very good with customer service, very good with ordering, that could do the office manager part. So your email should be taking 4 hours. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say email should not take 4 hours to check. Now, if you have a thriving business, absolutely, but not all 4 hours need to be yours to be answering. 2 of those hours could be handled by a very awesome employee or friend of yours that you could work up to more full-time. Okay, think about that. And what I mean by timing all your tasks is, like I've talked about before, time how long it takes you to take email, time how long it takes you to do taxes once a month for sales taxes. I have 7 sales tax licenses that I have to do throughout a lot of states. Well, I gave that to my accountant eventually because I remember sitting at my card table and going through taxes, and it took, like 6 hours every month. Well, it was too long. So started asking around about how affordable is a bookkeeper or an accountant, which is slightly more expensive. So a bookkeeper might be the answer for you. And then I also timed out how long it takes me to do straps. So I know if I have let's say 40 purses to sew for the week, and that means about 80 straps. Those 80 straps take me a good 30 minutes to sew. So I've timed that out so I know, okay, I need to allow 30 minutes for the straps today, and I always do the straps on Thursday afternoons. And the serging, if I have 40 purses to serge, that means about 2,000 pieces. That's going to take me 2 solid hours, but I know I get interrupted a lot during that, so I'm going to allow myself 3 hours. It's just the best way of managing your work system is timing everything you do so you can get better at it and blocking the appropriate time needed. There is a secret, and I don't know what the name of it is for sure, but basically the principle of it is the task fills the time allowed. So if you allow, let's say 4 hours for email, guess what? You're going to use all 4 hours for email. But if you say, I'm going to check my email in 2 hours, you'll work your buns off because you only allowed it 2 hours. It's the same with purses. Like if I say, okay, I'm going to need 8 hours to do the fit and finish process of these purses, I'm going to fit the purses in those 8 hours. I'm just going to hyper focus and do that. But if I said 12 hours, then you better believe I'm jumping on Facebook in the middle there or checking my text messages more than I need to, all those things. So just be conscious of the task will take up the amount of time you allotted for it. And are you allotting too little time for it and you're hurrying and doing a bad job? Or too much time and you're jumping onto different notifications during that supposed to be focused time? So it goes right back to just time everything. And everything can be timed. People say, well, I don't know how to time that. Yes, you do. You just look at the clock and go, oh, I guess that took 11 minutes. I didn't know it'd be so quicker. Oh, I didn't know that task would take so long. I got to fix that. Everything can be timed, including nursing, changing a diaper, meeting their snack needs, turning on a tune. All that stuff can be timed. And it helped me because I would be like, at 10 o'clock, I need to do snack time, but that's going to take 20 minutes. Well, does it really need to take 20 minutes? Not if I get those cool little paper bowls and the goldfish. And then I prepped it that morning. So all I have to do is grab the snack, sit with them for about 10 minutes, ask them how the morning's going, what toys they want to play with now. Everything can be timed. Okay. I won't preach to you anymore about it. And then an also thing for your work system that you just naturally have to do is you've got to have those goals posted somewhere so you can keep referring back to them. My recommendation would be that you have the goals looked at every single day, which sounds a little over the top, but every day little traction can be made. And if you see one that sat for a little bit where you're like, I have not even attempted to do that goal and I said I would, then it starts to play in the back of your brain and you're speaking aloud of, I have got to start that. Finally, you have got to be clear about your hours with your family, especially with your loved one or your spouse, because they need to know what their clear expectations are for your job. If you said 20 hours, try to stick to 20 hours. And if you think it's going to be more like 30 hours, say, oh my gosh, I timed myself this week and it's really going to be a 30-hour job. So let's talk about what I can do for childcare in the coming weeks, or let's talk about what nights you think would be okay for me to work. Just communicate with each other about how long it actually is going to take in order to reach your goals and after you have timed your work. So that's how I do my work system. Just remember to have a space. Where are you going to do your work? Talk about the how many hours, how are you going to do things, what's going to come first. Talk about how you're going to get these goals done for the one who sees us fit. We got this. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you have not done so, please subscribe to the show so that the latest episode will always be conveniently available on your device. You can also find the show notes on my website at shoprsd.com. That's shop with R as in Rebekah, S as in Scott, and D as in designs.com. The Encourager Podcast tab is at the bottom of my website, which holds some great resources like my recommended book page, how to rate and review my podcast, and reflection guides that correspond with each episode. Each review and rating is so valuable to us. I sincerely hope you feel encouraged and empowered to tackle anything that comes your way this week. Remember to be grateful, humble, and kind. Then joy will come ushering in. Until next time on The Encourager.